Happy Friday, everybody. It is America's Supermom. It is a little late, y'all. Sorry about that. Lots going on still here in this household. But anyway, I am on here really quickly because we are doing our Fashion Friday segment again. The theme for today is dream. What dreams are you not pursuing? What dreams are just laying there dormant because you're doing other things, trying to convince yourself and other people that, oh, I'm going to get to that. Oh, I'm going to start that one day, someday, tomorrow, and it never gets done. So we're talking about dreams today. A couple announcements. The first thing is book club for V Team Referral Network. Want to invite you guys out. The book we're reading is Who Moved My Cheese? And we're actually about done with that. The next book we're doing for the month of November is The Now Habit. So you guys can go out and get you a copy. You got plenty of time because we're not starting until November for that. So if you want to read ahead, or if anybody knows the author of The Now Habit, maybe we can have an author's interview during our book club. So anything that you guys could shed light on and that would be greatly appreciated. In addition to the book club, there is April Bonney, who she asked me to be on her summit, and it was on family and life and getting back together, having meals around the table. We connected during the pandemic. We're also co-authoring a book together, and now we're doing a hugathon along with Lindy Eldridge, who is the creator of the emotional support pillow through her organization, the Happiness Jungle. And it is a great body pillow that we are asking people to donate a hug with. And so the concept is that you donate a hug, which is this pillow that will be sent to the spouses of military personnel who are overseas and separated away from their spouses. So it provides them not only emotional support, but physical support. So it's really a big, huge pillow. You'll see it. We're having a hugathon on October the 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we want you guys to tune in. We're going to have some military families kind of share their insights on what a hug would mean to them during this holiday season. And a couple other personnel that are going to be here related to the military to give their input and what they feel a hug can do in the lives of the soldiers. And so we're doing all branches: Navy, Marines, Air Force, and the Army. And we're trying to donate 200 hugs. So for 200 families, we would like people to donate a hug, and this pillow will be sent to them. And it's just a reminder that they are thought about, that we're praying for them, and giving them some support during this time when they're separated from their spouse. So that's the announcement on that. Shout out to Joy Nicholson. She is from New Zealand, and we did a podcast together. I think it was last week or the week before. I do so many podcasts, guys. But it was a great conversation talking about depression and overcoming it. So she released that, I believe, today. So I just want to give her a shout out, tell her thanks for allowing me to be on her platform, and just want to hope that the content that I gave was valuable for those who heard it. So we want to give her a shout out. Also, have my podcast, guys. So I'm always still looking for guests. I just released my latest podcast where it was me and my first cousin. So we spent a lot of summers together. This is with my paternal grandmother. So I spent time with my maternal grandmother who had the 12 children, but then I also spent time with my paternal grandmother. And I was able to interact with my cousins on that side of the family. So we just had a nice little chit chat. He's a life coach, his brother's a life coach. So I just thought that was really interesting how, we grew up together, spending summers going to amusement parks and hanging out with our grandmother. And, the three of us are life coaching. So I thought that was good. All right. So the item that we have today that's going to be raffled off is the Mint Bliss Energizing Lotion. So I have more of this. This is really like a eucalyptus type feeling lotion. It's really nice. You really can tell a difference. It really just kind of jolts your self, and the smell is good. So it's just really good to kind of give you that pick me up throughout the day. So that is what we're going to be raffling away. And going to be giving away 2 books to the person who gets that raffle. Because you know what, guys, we are 10 weeks to Christmas. I forgot to mention that. So in the spirit of Christmas, this is where we're having these things come into play. Who Moved My Cheese and The Richest Man in Babylon. These are like some key books that you need. The Who Moved My Cheese helps with change. We're getting ready to change to another year. So for those of you that have been kind of in this fog, or maybe you just don't know where the time went, it's still moving. Okay. So we need to be on board with that change. So that's Who Moved My Cheese. And the other book is The Richest Man in Babylon. And it just talks about the principles of managing money. Very basic, so easy that even kids can understand, but the principles are priceless because they really help you move forward. Just in life in general, there's just some great things that you can take home to. So the lucky winner will be revealed at the end of the broadcast. All right, so we're getting into dream, right? So dream is going to be an acronym again, okay? So dream, the first letter is D, and that is decision. This is key, guys, because this is the basis of procrastination. People are overwhelmed. They can't decide on things. They can't just go one way or the other. We're in this situation now. We have to decide. We're going to be voting in a few weeks for new leadership or the old leadership. But you got to make a decision. What gets us stuck is that we're overwhelmed and we have too much other stuff distracting us. So either it's a distraction where you're not making a decision. So it's like, oh, yeah, I want to vote. Let me do a little research and figure out who's running. And then it's like, I'm going to do that tomorrow. You know what? I'm going to do that tomorrow again because tomorrow comes. Oh, I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm tired. I don't want to get into the negativity. I'm going to do that tomorrow. So it just keeps getting put off, right? The other thing is that you're just so overwhelmed. So it's like, okay, I'm going to check and see who the candidates are. And I'm just using this as an example. But I think it's important for you to vote. So I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I'm just saying this is something that can happen. So then it's like you want to do your research on the candidates. So then it's like you go on this platform, and they're saying this about them. Then you go on another platform and they're saying something else. So you have so much information that you really don't know how to make a decision. You're like, well, then you get to talking to people. Well, I don't know. I kind of think this person did this. And then they're like, what? I didn't hear that. I listened to whatever news and they didn't say anything about that. So then you're arguing back and forth over which news station is the most unbiased. I mean, all kind of stuff, right? So the first thing you need to do is make a decision, right? So when you're making a decision, this is something that you have to think about. What are your priorities? What are your values? And what is in line with where you want to go, right? So those are pretty much the things that, and I'm just using this for myself, the things that I do to make a decision, because decisions are very important in order for you to move forward, right? And you're not going to be able to go anywhere if you can't decide, right? So even as a mom, right? Let's just say my kids are bickering back and forth, or, they come and they tell me she hit me. No, she hit me first, or whatever. I got to make a decision, right? So as leaders and as people, we have to decide to do something, right? So just embrace it, right? So if you're the leader, you're the one in charge, you get to make the rules, make a decision, own that decision. If it's not right, make adjustments. You don't have to stay like in the decision, like a cement, right? You can change your mind. It's fluid, but somebody has to make a decision, right? So this is one of the things that really challenged me. And I don't even mean to go on a tangent about the decision, but I'm just using the example of my kids doing e-learning. So, really radio silent from the school system all throughout the summer. And then a couple weeks before school's supposed to start, they're just saying, well, we're going to give you the choice if you want to do remote learning or your kids come back, because we're planning on opening. And I'm like, I haven't heard anything from you guys pretty much all summer. Now you're telling me they're going to go back, and, what are the precautions? What have you been doing? All this kind of stuff. What's your plan? None of that, right? And I just feel like, okay, you have to be willing to embrace the decision you made. You got to make a stand. So whether it's right or wrong, it is what it is. But, being limbo, going back and forth. So then they gave us a decision, told us we had a deadline to make that decision. And then they said, okay, well, based on that, we're just going to be remote. So we started the school year out. Everybody was remote. Then, like 2 or 3 weeks into the school year, then they're like, okay, we're opening the school back up. So then they say, we're going to do a hybrid where some of the kids can come and some can stay at home. And then they do this for like a couple days. It's like, Monday and Tuesday for a certain alphabet, and then Thursday and Friday, and everybody's off on Wednesday. Well, they're all doing remote learning. And then the next week, they're like, okay, we're going to go to Monday through Friday. We're not taking any temperatures. We feel that's something the parents can do. The kids are on buses, all this stuff, right? So my thing is, that just doesn't work for me. I just feel like even within my own household, there's so many different things that could be passed back and forth. So, I just chose to do what we feel is right for our family. And you have some people that don't have a choice. Maybe they have to work or whatever the case is. But I just think about the decision I made that was in line with my values. Now, it might not have been popular. I have the ability to be able to stay home with my kids, and I can really maneuver my schedule any way I want to in order to facilitate that. And other people may not have that option. But when it comes to making a decision, it is you looking at your situation and deciding what's best for you and doing it, right? But it's that, oh, I don't know, procrastination and all that, which doesn't move you forward, right? So I'm just speaking from experience, 13 years dealing with depression, part of it not being able to make a decision, or making a decision that I thought other people wanted me to make, and it really didn't line up with me, right? So that is, maybe you tell yourself, you know what? Every day I don't do anything for myself. Tomorrow I'm going to do something for myself. And then somebody calls you with their emergency, and then you put off that something for yourself till the next day. And then the next day, it just keeps on until eventually you don't even have the unction to think about yourself anymore. You're so busy thinking about other people. So the first step is making a decision. That's a long-winded answer for one topic. But before I go to the next letter, there's a lot of comments. So we want to acknowledge everybody who is here. So we have Maddie who says, this is great. I decided to step out even more, and your video showed up. Signs on Facebook about living your dreams. Love this. Oh, that's that nice. Andrea says, money loves speed. Jonathan says, the most important thing is deciding to make a change and then take action to reach your goals. This is so true. You have to take action, guys. You can't be stuck in a rut and thinking that this, you want to make a decision, you want to do things different, that is just going to magically happen without any work. It takes work, right? It's either work lying to yourself, telling yourself over and over again, you're going to do it tomorrow, next week, next month, or the work when you're actually doing it, right? And once you get started, it gets easier, right? So it doesn't even have to be anything real complicated. We about when you decide that you want something different than what you're doing, that means it's unknown to you. It's something that you're not an expert in. You're kind of starting, not really knowing where to go, how to do it. And so anybody who is just starting out with something, you wouldn't hold them to the same standard as a professional. But we do that to ourselves because we can visualize where we want to go and we see people doing that. We hold ourselves to that same standard when we don't even have the same experience. So it really sounds crazy if you really sit down and think about it and reflect. It's like me saying, okay, I want to learn how to drive a plane, right? Or fly a plane, whatever way you want to say it. And I know a pilot, and matter of fact, I know a couple pilots. So I think I can just get in the pulpit, in the cockpit, and just start flying this plane because I know these people and I see them doing it every day. But we do this all the time, right? We want to start a business. We see Sally next door. She's doing it. We can do it better than her because we're just seeing what the finished product is, right? We don't even know the work behind the scenes. And we think we can do it better than Sally, and we're just starting. So I'm telling you, some of the stuff is crazy if we really start thinking about it. The next letter is R, is that's your routine. So what things are you doing that is facilitating your dream? What are your routines? When do you get up? When do you go to bed? How often do you sleep? How do you go about networking? What are your income producing activities? What's your follow-up like? How do you generate leads? How do you stay motivated? What are you eating throughout the day? What's your work schedule? All these different things, right? If you have a service or maybe a product, how do you package that product? How much do you spend on shipping? Do you deliver your own stuff? Do you have somebody else deliver it for you? These are just a few questions that I'm just coming up with off the top of my head. But what is your routine, right? So a lot of people say, you know what? I want to have my own business. I don't want to work for anybody else. I want to have the freedom to be my own boss. But I'm going to tell you what comes with that freedom, right? Nobody's telling you what to do. Nobody is telling you when to clock in, how many clients you need for the month or the week or whatever. This is all you, right? So we see other people enjoying the fruits of their labor, and we think, oh, I can do that same thing. And we're not really sure what that all entails. We're just looking at somebody else's ending and comparing it to our beginning, right? So we're thinking that we can jump way over here to where they are because we have a good idea, right? Well, you need clients, you need money, and all these things that are going to facilitate your vision. And if you just have the vision without the implementation or the finances to support that vision, you're not going to go very far, right? You're going to be burnt out or down the road, telling people, yeah, I tried that. That just didn't work for me, when you really didn't give it 100%, because it takes planning and it takes a routine of consistently doing things and figuring out what is going to work for you. So what is your routine? So yes, you can have a business. Yes, you can have freedom, but that freedom comes with the decision to make, you have to choose opportunity costs with every decision. So if I am here doing a Facebook Live, I'm not in front of the TV watching Netflix or, doing some other recreational activity that is not a part of building my brand or talking to my audience or the people that I interact with, if that makes sense. So what is your routine? The next letter is E, and that's esteem. So, how good are you feeling about yourself, your brand, your service, your products? A lot of this comes from preparation. So, thinking about where do you want to see yourself? You want to think from the end and then reinvent that, right? So if you want to be the best brand in Stockbridge, or, the most popular restaurant wherever you're living, right? I'm just using that. Hey, Tammy, how are you? Good to see you. So if it's whatever you want to be the best in, right? You're thinking about doing that. Well, it's a matter of preparation. You can be the best, but what does the best look like, right? How are they responding right now during a global pandemic? What are some things that they're working on doing that's maintaining that position for them? So when everybody is like, oh, we're shutting down, we have to stay home because that's what they're saying. People that are leaders and are number one, they do what other people don't do. So what that means is, okay, well, we're staying open some kind of way. So maybe we're now delivering food instead of just having people come into the restaurant. Maybe we're catering, right? Maybe we're having minimum orders from people instead of just having them come in with 2 or 3 things, right? So we have to prepare. So just like Andrea, success loves preparation. This is what we have to be mindful of, right? We have to be thinking about how we are going to move forward, right? And that's about the esteem. And it makes a difference when you give a presentation. If I'm a confident business owner, that's going to come across when I talk to somebody face to face. If I'm trying to get people to invest in me or trying to get people to do business with me, it's going to make a difference with the preparation. Now, are you going to know everything? See, this is another thing. Sometimes people prepare so much that they don't get started, right? So they're like, oh, I don't know what I would do in this situation or whatever. I don't think I'm quite ready. No, a lot of the preparation is, some of the things related to your industry. But then when it comes to experience, you have to have a balance between the industry knowledge and experience. So it's just like being a parent. You don't have all the answers. There's some things about just how you treat people in general and some of your values. But then there's other things that you have to make a judgment on when it comes to, okay, well, what are our non-negotiables? How are we going to control our kids having friends? Are we going to step in if we feel that our kids are doing something with somebody that we think is inappropriate? Or, are we feeling like we're hovering or that type of thing? So there's some things that just, it's your own moral compass. And a lot of those decisions can't be decided until you take action. So you can think about it, come up with all these different philosophies, but at the end of the day, it's going to take you deciding where your position is and how you stand with that. The next letter is A, and that's automate. So this is so important because as your business grows, it makes a difference if you have some things set in place that help you maintain your routine, right? So for me, it's like an internal clock at this time about Fashion Fridays, right? But it didn't start out that way. I would have to prepare maybe towards the beginning of the week and figure out, okay, what am I going to say on Friday? I would prepare, early in the part of the week so that I would, one, remember that I was going to do Fashion Friday. Have you started where you are on social media, you get all fired up and you start doing these Facebook lives, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to come back on and I'm going to say this. And then the day after you were supposed to get on the Facebook live, you're like, oh shoot, I said I was going to do a Fashion Friday or whatever it is. These things happen because we begin to get into our routine doing things, but we're not focused. We get distracted sometimes by what other people are doing, or, we are not keeping good records, not organized, whatever the case may be. But when you get to automating things, right? This is where it just comes automatically. It's just something that happens. You don't even think about it. It is like a habit. So not only are you doing this, consciously with yourself, but you're also doing this with systems that you set up in place. So I was on the phone earlier with Jonathan. I want to give him a shout out. And we were talking about Calendly, right? So Calendly has a free version, usually, which is what I have, right? But my philosophy is with business is that, everything that I do a lot of experimenting. And so anybody who's on social media, they tell you that it's good to experiment. You have to try this out, test this out to see what thing is going to move forward for you and what thing, is not doing good, right? So it doesn't make sense to start investing in all these different things and different platforms or different apps or tools if you don't know how to use them in your business, or you're not in a situation where you know how much you need them. So for me, Calendly, I use it strictly one calendar for my podcast. But now I'm like, okay, I'm having these master classes. I'm doing some of this other stuff. I'm talking to Jonathan. I'm like, well, shoot, I don't know. How do you think? And he's like, well, you can monetize on your Calendly. So if you have appointments where people are paying, you can just set that up through Calendly and they can pay right there directly, right? And he says, remember as well that social media is about you. It is your own journey and you are exactly where you need to be. Stop following others. So true, right? So we get distracted because we're thinking, hey, Jonathan is doing some photography type artwork on his Instagram. So let me try and do that, right? Not even thinking about, is your audience thinking about, this type of photography? Because you start following other people and you have to think about your own audience. You may lose them because you're over here doing something that is not even related to what you started out doing. So if I say, hey, I'm America's Supermom, and then I start, I don't know, getting into, motorcycle riding or something. I'm just seeing that as an example, right? So I'm just going off doing this motorcycle stuff and putting Harleys up here and all this kind of stuff. You'd be like, now wait a minute, what is she doing? She's got all those kids, and are they riding on the motorcycle with her, right? Like, where are the kids at, right? So we have to be conscious of the things that we're doing. And so this stuff that I say, I know we're laughing and we think it's funny, but this is how we sound or how we look when we are following other people. So I'm glad that I have somebody saying that this is true, because it is really, this is how we look and sound. So, I'm telling you, this is another thing that I appreciate about Facebook Lives is, it's really kind of like you're talking to yourself. That's the way you feel. If anybody does a lot of Facebook Lives, it's like, okay, here I am on this camera. You don't know if anybody's listening or watching on the other side. And it's like I'm doing all this talking, but it's time for you to reflect for yourself, right? So you are really asking yourself or saying these things out loud. And this is the thing, many of us have these thoughts, but we don't take it to the next level and just say it out loud. And sometimes saying things out loud is all you need to understand something and see that it does not make any sense, right? Let me give you an example. So I used to homeschool. This was before we were doing this e-learning, which e-learning I say is really like night and day with homeschooling. So for me, I was doing the lesson plans and doing the grading, right? Doing the instruction. I think we had like 4 or 5 kids that were homeschooling at this one time. And so I had one of them, I want to say it's my son who just turned 26 this week. He was doing this math, right? And I didn't know what they were talking about. So he comes to me and he's like, Mommy, I need you to explain this math to me because I really don't understand what they're telling me. And so I said, well, bring the book over here because I'm thinking, oh, Lord, I don't know this math either. Right. And so I just started reading the problem. So I said, okay, now this is what we're starting with. You start with this number, then you're doing this step. And I just read it really slow. And he was like, okay, I understand. I was thinking, oh, God is so good because I still didn't know how to do that problem. But because I said it out loud and I said it slowly, that's what I'm thinking happened. He understood the concept. So it just took somebody saying it out loud, somebody just verbalizing it, or maybe he was focusing on what I was saying because he couldn't focus when he was doing it himself. I don't know what it was. But yes, be you and don't follow others. But whatever it was, something about saying it out loud was the thing that hit home for him. So I say, look, we might need to do a lot more. Maybe you're not on the Facebook Live, but maybe you need to go in the bathroom in front of your mirror and say, does this make sense? I think that I'm thinking this, but does this make sense? And so looking at yourself back in the mirror can be a good indicator to help you move forward and think some of this stuff I'm doing is just crazy, right? And so you can learn that for yourself. All right. And then the last letter is M, and that's monitor. So we want to think about how are we monitoring the things that we're doing. Now, this is so important. If you have a business, you have to track it. Let's just go back 30 days, right? So we're going into another year, but let's just take 30 days, going back and looking at last month. Where were you last month? So we can say what we want about our business, how we're feeling, what kind of impact we're having. But one of the ways we measure that is finances. So where are we at 30 days now than where we were last month? Are we making more sales? Do we have more clients? How much time are we allocating to our business? How many projects did we complete? This is another thing Jonathan and I were talking about. We need to know the difference between a project and a task. So one thing that could be so overwhelming for people is that you are looking at things being tasks and they are really projects. So a task is something that you can do in one step. So some people say, hey, you know what? I'm challenging you. All my clients, I want y'all to just go on and do a Facebook Live every day for 5 days. So that sounds like it's a task. I want you to just turn the camera on and get in front of the camera and do a Facebook Live 5 days in a row. That's not a task. That's a project. Because the thing about it, when people see people do a Facebook Live, they are seeing the polished version. Now, some people will get on here and ad lib and do things. Now, I do that to a certain point because, I have stories that go along with the topic or whatever, and that's not all scripted. But before I come on here, I know what product I'm giving away. I know what books I'm giving away. I know what my topic's going to be. That's not done at the time that I get on the Facebook Live. That's done before. So there are steps that go up into me doing a Facebook Live. So if you ask somebody to do a Facebook Live 5 days straight, that's not just them turning on the camera and talking about something, not unless you're talking about them improving a Facebook Live. But if you're somebody who is trying to move your business forward, you might want to be strategic and leverage your time doing a Facebook Live, right? So you can improv, but what if you say something that offends your avatar or your target audience? What if you go left and you're supposed to be going right? You have to be conscious of what your brand is, what you stand for, And so this is another thing, should you be following that guidance or that direction if, you haven't really thought out your game plan, right? Because once you start doing things, it's a project to prepare for these shows. It is, right? Because I can't just get on here and do this. So it's like, my kids are like, Mommy, are you going to do your Facebook Live? I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, well, are you ready? Want me to turn the thing on for you? I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I have to know what I'm talking about. And so I have to explain to them, I have a theme or concept or whatever. It's not just turning the camera on. Okay. So you got to be mindful of those type of things when you're doing it. But that could be a game changer. Because if you are really putting a lot of stress on yourself, thinking that what you can do can be done in one step and it can't. So even something like the dishes, you have to run the water, or if you're putting them in the dishwasher, you got to rinse the dishes, put them in there. Then you have to make sure everything is stacked up right. Then you have to make sure you put the dishwashing liquid in there, turn it on. Then if everything doesn't fit in the dishwasher, then you have to wash the other ones by hand. And then if you don't have a drying rack, then you have to dry the dishes and then you got to put them away. I mean, that is like 7, 8, 10 tasks, right? But that is such a game changer because you won't think that you can get that done in one swoop. You'll have to be cognizant of the fact that, okay, it is going to be more steps. So maybe throughout the day, if your task is, you know what, I don't care what I do today, I'm going to make sure I get these dishes done. If that's going to be your idea, then you may break that up into steps. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get the dishes done. What I'm going to do first is load the dishwasher. That's going to be one thing. Whatever doesn't fit, or I'm going to rinse the ones that don't fit in there. When that thing gets done, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to put the other ones in, right? But it's still a bunch of tasks. Same thing, laundry. You could think, oh, I'm just going to do some laundry. Well, you got to wash the laundry, dry it, fold it, and put away. Now, that's just for one load. If you have a lot of kids, a lot of people living in your house, how many steps is that taking? For a load of whites, a load of darks, a load of delicate. What about the things that you don't put in the dryer, or you put them on delicate in the dryer? Then you have some that you don't put in the dryer at all. You let them hang dry because you got uniforms for the kids, and they can't be put in the dryer. They're going to shrink or they're going to fade or whatever, right? So you've got a lot of stuff that you have leave them in the sink, right? Okay. So it is so many different things that, he forgot to unload the dishwasher. This is so true. If only flies are gross. Okay, so he's saying leave the dishes in the sink. Yeah, you can. But you're right. You get those flies, gnats, everything else. But see, this is the thing. We all put on like, oh, we're so organized, but we all know what the consequences are when those dishes don't get done. Now, how are we going to know that? That means we all deal with the same thing. This is so funny to me because people will get on, public things and they act like it just doesn't happen for them anymore. We play this prim and proper role, but we all can laugh about the dishes in the sink, what can happen as a result of them not getting washed, because we all know we've been there, right? And some of us have been there literally like this week. You can go in my kitchen now because the one who does dishes, she's not home yet. She's at work. And so what happens here? It would be a great thing if you have your kids and it's like, I have older kids, I have middle age, all different ages. They all know what it takes to do some dishes, right? That's not my chore. Mommy, why do I have to do the dishes? I have bathroom. She has dishes. Why do I have to do her chore? So then you're trying to tell them, don't you just want to, have the house look in order? Don't you just think it's nice if we all just help out? No, because they don't help me when when it's my turn to do the dishes. So, it's one of those things. So what happens, and they have created this for themselves, right? Because they watch each other. It's that sibling rivalry thing. So it's like last week when I had dishes, you were teasing me and you didn't want to help me out. So I'm not helping you with the dishes. This is the kind of stuff that we deal with, right? So I think that's really funny. All right. So when we monitor, back to that, we think about where should we be, right? After 30 days, do we have more clients? Are we making more calls? Do we have more appointments where we are having one-on-ones with people, coaching and different things like that, right? She says, "Oh, too well. I'm out myself." This is so true. What did she say? Oh, I need to wash dishes right now. I don't feel like emptying the dishwasher. So true. Right. Because this is really what happens. So it's so funny because we have like a chore monitor. And so the chore monitor goes and says, okay, well, you unloaded the dishwasher, you put them in the drying rack, but they need to be in the cabinet. They're not doing anything if they're on the counter. Yeah, they're clean, but y'all need to put them away. This kitchen needs to be clean. But it's so funny because they say things, they're more strict with each other than I am, right? Because I'm like, look, as long as the dishes are clean, I'm good with that. I don't care if they're in the drying rack. It's just a good feeling to see a clean sink without dishes in it, right? So if they're over to the side, they're in a drying rack and they're clean, I'm good with that. But then you have other chore monitors that are like, it's not clean if there's anything on the counters and all this kind of stuff. So, that's just one of the things. But back to monitoring. I'm glad that we all have the same issue with the dishwasher. But we need to monitor where we're going. What are we doing? Because we say things to make ourselves feel good. But at the end of the day, back to the Calendly thing, right? So I'm doing Calendly for free. But now that I have more traction in my business, then I invest in the paid version of Calendly. One, because I know I'm going to use it, right? I think Jonathan says he can have up to 9 calendars. And I'm thinking, what? But now, when I heard that in the beginning, that was intimidating because I'm like, I don't need 9 calendars. And so sometimes you can buy stuff or participate in things that you haven't grown into yet. And then you overwhelm yourself before your business even gets the chance to grow. And so then by the time you don't get to that point to where you need it because you just never really needed it in the first place and you were trying to do too much too fast. So now it's like, when I invest in things, I invest in things with my business funds, right? I'm not coming out of my own pocket, using that to invest in other things. So this is something that we need to be mindful of when it comes to our business. Hey, there's nothing wrong with free until you grow and you are able to pay for the things that you pay for. I had the free version of Zoom, I don't know how long before I got the paid version, right? And so some people may be like, oh, it's only like whatever. I think it's $15 a month. But if I have that, if I have other expenses that I have with my business, other things that add up, that $15 here, $15 there, all that stuff adds up. And you have a whole bunch of subscriptions and plans, and then you don't have any money coming in, right? But you're looking good because you got all these apps and all this stuff, but it's not bringing you any money, right? So then you begin to be led by the debts that you have. So this is where you start not being that person that has time to talk to people. You're always like, well, how much are you going to pay me or whatever? It's all about the money first thing, right? Because you are being led by the bills that you're creating for yourself, right? And so the best thing to do is to grow as your business grows, because this way you can maintain that level of clarity, peace, not really be on people's radar of always asking for money. You know how those people are there on different platforms. Hey, I can help you make X amount of dollars. They're always trying to sell you something, right? And so whatever the case is, but all that comes from, not monitoring your own progress. And so if you ask yourself the right questions, then you'll be able to move forward. So one of the things that we came up with just this week when I was doing the book club are 3 questions that we ask ourselves. How much did you spend this week? So think about it. How much did you spend in your time, your money, and your energy? So just for the week, how much did you spend? How much did you invest this week of your time, your money, and your energy? Now, investing is different than spending. Spending, you spend it one time, you don't get anything out of it. Investing is something that appreciates over time. So if you're investing your time, what are some things that you should be investing in when it comes to your time, right? How to cut back on some of the time. So like if you are, let's say you're a content creator. So investing your time is maybe doing one video for 20 minutes and then repurposing that video, turning it into a blog, into an article, chunking it down into different little posts that you can make, 1 minute or less, creating ads with it, all kind of stuff, right? So that's a good way to invest your time, right? Investing your money, things that are going to appreciate. Is it all about getting something as simple as a smartphone? Does it make sense to finance it, right? Because by the time you finance it, you're paying your monthly plan, all this other stuff. That's money that could be going towards one of these little $15 memberships that might serve you better in your business, like a Calendly or a Zoom or whatever, right? So just using that as an example. Then the other question is, how much did you save in your time, your money, and your energy, right? So let's think about time again. If you get up in the morning and you're always rushing, you can save yourself some time if you lay your clothes out the night before. Now, I know that sounds simple, but that's easy. You know what? After, doing that every day, you might say, you know what? I'm tired of this. So then you can just lay your clothes out for the whole week. The weekend, you can do your laundry. You can iron all your stuff out. It's done for the week and boom, you're done with that. You could save yourself some time, right? You could save yourself some time by putting your phone on do not disturb, right? So when you're doing a task, hey, put that phone away, go put it in another room, put it in a drawer, hide it, do whatever, so that you can give yourself some focused time to be intentional with what you're doing, and you may get it done even faster. Because if you're trying to do a task and then, oh, I heard a beep, or what time is it? All this kind of stuff. You have a timer on the bottom of your computer screen. But, we just all of a sudden have to see the time on our cell phone because that's the only place we think a clock is, right? So just stuff like that. So monitoring is important. All right. So the winner of the lotion and these 2 books, because these books are going 10 weeks to Christmas. We are talking about it's just 10 weeks to Christmas, y'all. So that's why I have this backdrop back here. And this is just from the Dollar Tree, y'all. Just a little cheap thing. But you can do theme backgrounds for your business. That's another thing you could do. Or, something virtual or whatever. But, just creative ways that you could do something different, switch it up, get you a blank wall and do different things on it. Posters. They got these things that you can make your own posters and stuff at Walmart or some of these other like Hobby Lobby places. And you can take your own photos and it could just be a poster that might even be cheaper than getting a banner that you can get from UPS or something like that. Okay, so I've got some comments. Let me say, Grow as your business does. Yes. Tanisha says, you lose authenticity in search of making money to pay your debts. So true. You are led by your debts. Okay, so my illness, which keep coming back again and again. Okay, so not sure where the illness is coming from, but we will keep you lifted up in prayer. Okay, but a lot of it could be for us not really thinking about, some of the things that we're doing. It's like insanity. Keep on doing the same thing, expecting different results. And one of the things that I thought was really profound is you can't solve a problem with the same mindset you had that got you the problem, right? So if you thought one way and it got you in trouble, how are you thinking you can think that same way and get out of trouble, right? So we have to be willing to recognize, you know what? I'm stuck here. This is dead end territory. I need to get some help so I can get out, get a different vantage point, right? And so this is us thinking about ways that we can monitor our progress. So how do we know if we're not on the right page? Because we're monitoring. How are you having a business and the business is growing and there's no money coming in? But you're feeling like, hey, I'm doing all this work, I'm productive, but you're looking at your bank account and it's not getting more money in it, right? So these are the kind of questions we need to ask ourselves. And it's not that hard. It's just a matter of tweaking some things. So just like, Jonathan and I were saying, it's like, look, let's say you were doing some things for free. You have a Calendly. So then you just put your price on there. So it's like, hey, you know what? It used to be free. If anybody asks you, yeah, I did that temporarily during the global pandemic, but I'm preparing for 2021. So now there's a charge. I can make some arrangements with you. Now, if you want to break it up or whatever the case is, now we're talking about payment arrangements. So it's still accomplishing your mission, but it's a different conversation because they know that there's a fee that's associated with that. Rather than you just waiting on people to get the kindness of their heart to offer you some money, people aren't doing it, right? So you got to think about how are you going to make that transition and monitoring it to see. It's nothing personal, right? So if you had a McDonald's and you are spending, thousands of dollars in supplies and product, but you're not getting any customers coming in the door, it's just a matter of time where you're going to have to shut your doors because you're not able to maintain what it is that you are creating these expenses for. So just like that with any other business, right? So we have to take our blinders off and say, look, am I making any more money? Am I going out here doing any recruiting, networking, or whatever the case is, right? How bad do I want this business? Because if you want it bad enough, you're going to start creating income so that you can continue to stay in business. So I hope that makes sense. So that's monitor. All right. So the winner of the products and the books is Elizabeth. I can't think of her last name off the top of my head, but she lives in Florida. She has a non-for-profit. So I will put her name in the comments. Yeah, it's not Elizabeth Frederick, but Elizabeth Pieri or something like that. I can't think off the top of my head. It is late, y'all. And I have been up since 6:30 doing this morning show with the Diamond Factor, right? Okay, so it's all about being authentic. So true. So as we monitor and think about all the things that we've talked about with dreaming, right? Dreams are great because they motivate us and they push us and they keep us striving for higher things. However, it takes work to level up with your dreams. It takes work to manifest them and have them come true. A dream is something that's totally different than what you're living right now. So you got to think about that. If you are living a life and you want something totally different, it's going to take work to get there, right? So you're living this, but you want to get over here. You see all the space in between? So you got to figure out a strategy on how you're going to get over there. And that takes work. That takes creativity. And that's what we got to do when it comes to following our dreams. So I want to thank you guys for your patience and dealing with me with all my little quirks and stuff tonight, and laughter, because it's, I'm kind of somewhat delirious. It's been a long day, but thinking about the things that you're dreaming about, making them come true for yourself. Don't let yourself down. Don't worry about what other people are thinking. Think about what your dreams are. What are some things that would just make you jump out of bed in the morning? Life is short. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. I feel like I'm in a place, I feel good about where I'm at, because to be honest, I'm not in love with everything that I have right now. And that's just a great thing to feel like, because I feel like, if anything was to happen to me, I feel like I've had a fulfilled, complete life. And I'm excited about that. But I feel so much sadness for people who feel like they're not living the life of their dreams. And all it takes is a choice, a decision to decide, hey, you know what? I know I'm not where I want to be, but I'm consciously going to decide to move forward with my life because it's the only one I have to live. Right. And so we have to be able to, oh, thank you. We have to be able to move forward and think about the stuff that we want out of life. Because I'm telling you guys, looking in my own situation, I had a house full of kids. Nobody was rescuing me. So even though I was the mom who was helping them with their homework, making the food, doing the laundry, doing all this stuff, hey, nobody was rescuing me. They might have even seen the signs, but thought, oh, well, something's a little off with mom today. Maybe tomorrow she'll be better, right? I say that to say, because people are into their own issues, right? Whatever they may be, and even kids, they mean well, they love us, but at the same time, people can be self-centered, being in a situation where they have to think about self. And I think this is really one of the things that we kind of get off kilter with, is that, when it comes to self-care, we think that that's being selfish or being self-centered. And see, the terminology is not right. So you got to think about, how are you going to give somebody love if you don't have any love for yourself? How are you going to give somebody patience? Because you're not going to know what it is, right? You're not practicing it. So how are you going to give it to somebody else? You have to be able to be doing these things for yourself in order for you to do them for other people. Because one is just not going to be innate for you to do it. You can pretend, you can act like it, but it's an act that gets old. Trust me, I've been there, right? So it's like, oh, you can pretend to be patient, and maybe it's patience with certain things, but it's about it being a lifestyle, about being able to embrace who you really are, right? So as a mom, if I say, oh yeah, I just love my kids, they just are little angels, and I'm just so thankful that I have them. And I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm saying we pray about children, and then we don't want to be dealing with them when it gets hard, right? So I have 2 middle school boys, and I've talked about them, I don't know, for the past 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, that's just how much they're on my mind, because they just have their own philosophy about school, how they're going about doing it and all this stuff. And I'm like, I got everybody else on this program, and y'all just want to flip the script and go left and do some crazy stuff. What is wrong with y'all? So I'm like coming up with different rewards and punishments and all this kind of stuff. And it's like scratching my head, talking to everybody about it, right? But the issue is you're going to have the ups and downs. You're going to have the highs and lows. That's just a part of it. That doesn't have to define you. But I say all that, nobody is going to be coming to your rescue, because it gets to the point to where we have to realize that we have to identify what things we need, and people are not mind readers. So if I came to my kids and I said, look, you know what? I'm really down. I'm tired. I feel like, I don't have any help doing A, B, and C. I need you to do this, you to do that, you to do this. they would be fine with that. Now they may complain or whatever, but what happened? I told them what was going on. We don't communicate things. We get into our head feeling sorry for ourselves. And then it's like, well, why is nobody asking me if I need any help? They should be asking me. I thought they loved me, right? It's not happening. So you have to be your own advocate for yourself. And you have to say, look, enough is enough. I'm tired or whatever. It is what it is. And hey, I need y'all to help out or do whatever. Right. And so you have to be your own advocate for that. So that's the last thing I want to say about that. But you guys have a wonderful weekend. And I'm so glad that I had so many people on the live tonight. You guys have really made it a lot of fun. And I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.